What's going on, fellas? So today, I'm going to show you how to stop being taken advantage of and make people respect you. In the world we live in today, and this is actually how it's always been, in order to thrive and survive, you can't be nice all the time. You got to understand power and you have to understand respect. Because if you're a good person, people will love you, people will like you, but that doesn't mean they have to respect you. Now, how do you get respect? Sometimes, and in most cases, as a man, dealing with people, because that's what we're talking about today, fellas, dealing with people. When you're dealing with people and you want them to respect you, sometimes force is necessary. As a man, it's a must that you have the capability of instilling fear in people. This is one of the ways that you'll get respect from most people. But in some cases, it's not all about brute force. Sometimes you need street smarts. You need a bit of knowledge of human nature, because without it, no matter how strong you are, you'll just be another target. So having power, making people respect you, not letting people take advantage of you, and also getting along with people, it's a balance. It's a balance between grace and ruthlessness. All right, G, I don't know if y'all ever watch Superman versus Batman. And Lex Luthor said something like this. He said, if God is all powerful, he can't be all good. And if he's all good, he can't be all powerful. And what that basically means is that if you want power in any dynamic, you have to understand that you can't be nice all the time. God ain't nice all the time. God is great, but sometimes he'll put a foot in your ass if you don't get your shit together. And the fact of the matter, G, and the saying goes as follows. People will take your kindness for weakness if you let them. All right, so what's the problem with being too nice? There's a huge problem with this, and I'll tell you why people take advantage of you, but I'll also give you some other downsides of being too nice. One of the downsides of being too nice is not only do people take it for weakness, and if you're dealing with a manipulative, narcissistic person, they'll take advantage of you, but sometimes when you're too nice, people think you're faking. So it's either two categories people put you into when you're too nice. That's why when I meet people who too fucking nice, I don't trust them. Why? Because I either think they're weak. That's one of the reasons why I don't trust them. Or I think they're faking. All right. So there's two categories you put yourself into. This is why being too nice is a problem. But pertaining to the topic, guys, one of the biggest examples that I can give why most people get taken advantage of is because they reward bad behavior. And you can see this like in a family dynamic, the difference between a mother and a father when it comes to discipline in most cases. Usually, the children usually take advantage of the mother, and they usually get away with a lot of shit. And they usually disobey her. She usually has to tell them things more than one time to get them to move. Why? Because she lets them get away with a lot of stuff. She's usually nice to them after they do some dumb shit. Usually the mother rewards bad behavior. So if a mother tells her son to take out the trash and he doesn't, even though he didn't listen to her that day, she'll still give him ice cream later on that evening. But if a father tells him to take out the trash and he doesn't, he might be laying out on the floor 5 seconds later. So that's the difference. That's why in most cases, I'm not going to say most cases, but some cases, children usually fear the father. Why? Because the father instills fear in the children. Not saying that he's not nice to his kids and he doesn't love them, but he doesn't give them second chances. So when they do some dumb shit, there's repercussions and consequences. So that's the problem with being too nice. One, when you're too nice, it's not real. It's not authentic. Because nobody's that nice all the time. Nobody in their heart, in their soul, especially a man, wants people to walk all over them and wants to say yes to everything and wants to let people slip by on all their boundaries and shit like that. No man wants that. It emasculates you. It doesn't make you feel like a man. Even women, as grown women don't want people walking all over them. So no human being over the age of 18 would allow somebody to consistently take advantage of them if they had it their way. So either one or two things will happen when you're too nice. Either people will just avoid you, or they'll use you up and take advantage of you and then discard you when they're done with you. So guys, let's talk about power. And I'm about to teach you a valuable lesson. A lesson that you want to take with you in your social life when you're dealing with women, in business. This is a level of street smarts that a lot of people never get to, especially men. And this is a mistake that a lot of men make with women, okay? Let's talk about power. There's a rule of power. You never give someone, anybody, especially a woman, so much power to the point to where they can destroy you. I'll give you an example, and I have a rule in my life. You never tell or give a woman your business. Now that statement is very vague, but let me explain. There's guys that have a business, like they're an entrepreneur, and they let their chick, i.e. their wife, take charge of a portion of their business, or let their wife split half of their business. Guys, that is the biggest mistake you can make. There is nothing wrong with bringing your wife into your life or bringing your girl into your life or letting her take charge of some part in your life. But that's too much power you're giving that person, because it's no coincidence that men that put themselves in that situation, not all the times, fellas, it's case by case, but it is possible and highly likely if that shit doesn't work out, you can put yourself in a situation where you're manipulated. All right, G. So this comes with anything. This has a lot to do with talking too much. You never give somebody too much information that they can use to either exploit you, manipulate you, ruin your reputation or what you got going on. All right, fellas. So you got to be sacred about some things. So whoever you're dealing with, keep this in the back of your head and write this down. Never give someone too much power or so much power to the point to where they can use it to destroy you. This can relate to a lot of situations, and this is why a lot of people get taken advantage of. They get close to somebody, they start to trust somebody, they give them leeway, they give them access to certain things, not knowing that that person has a secret motive, or not knowing that one day that person may turn on them. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't trust people, but you have to be very, very methodical and very strategic about who you trust and when you decide to trust them. All right, fellas, you can't trust everybody with the things in your life, especially your business, your money, the women in your life, everything. You got to be sacred about a lot of things. Some of you guys talk too much. All right, and this is not only making you look like a nice guy, but you're exploiting yourself to people who have, like I said, ulterior motives. Some people come into your life just to destroy you, and that is their only goal and mission. Some people do this different ways. Some people are very overt about it. They don't care if you know that they want to fuck your life up. Some people are very covert. They like secret spies. They may love bomb you, make you feel good at the beginning, then the snakehead comes out when it's necessary. All right, fellas, so you got to pay attention. This is street smarts. All right, guys? Now, I'm going to give you a nuance. All right, G, I always talk about being generous and being a man who's willing to provide and protect for the people in his life. But pertaining to the topic, you got to understand there's a time and there's a place for everything. I just mentioned when you meet somebody and you like them and you're very fond of them, just because you like them, just because they like you, just because you love them, just because they love you, that doesn't mean that you give them every part of your life or you give them all the information in your life and you start telling them or giving them shit that they can ultimately use to destroy you, or ultimately not appreciate the shit you're giving them, and therefore they take advantage of you. So at the beginning of most relationships, you have to be stingy. And what I mean by stingy, I don't mean you can't be generous. I mean you have to pick and choose what you give. You have to know when to say no. So when I used to have girls come over to the crib before I got fully locked in, focused on my goals, I had this chick came over, and the moment she walked in, she started touching shit. And you know when people walk in, they're usually very cautious of your shit, so they don't want to touch anything. They barely want to sit on your couch. That's what I call manners. But she decided to just start grabbing shit. And if any of you guys know me, y'all know I keep weapons in my house. So I had a few swords on my wall, guys. And these swords that's on my wall, they look antique. They look expensive. But she decided to just start grabbing shit. Now, mind you, G, this is her first time at my house. And most men, when women come over to their house the first time and they just start touching shit, going through their shit, the guys don't even say anything. Y'all just let her do what she want to do. Whole time, that's the same chick 3 weeks later that's talking shit to you, and she can't get on your program because you don't know how to set boundaries and tell this bitch, don't touch my shit. I just met you. All right, calm the fuck down. You just got here. You want something to drink first? All right, fellas. So I had to tell her, and I had to check her like within 5 minutes of her being in the house. I was like, look, you cool and all that, you pretty and shit, but I just met you. This your first time over here. Don't just be touching my shit. I got certain shit that if you touch it, shit might blow up in your face. I was just talking shit, but at the same time, I was letting her know I got boundaries. I got standards. I just met you. Now, that don't mean at some point I won't let you in, but I just met you. Some of you guys give people too much shit too early. This is why they don't appreciate it. This is a rule of thumb. If you want people to appreciate shit, you gotta make them earn it. That's with time, that's with energy, that's with money, that's with anything. All right, fellas, because if you give people an inch too early, not saying you can't give them an inch. See, the problem is not that you're giving people inches. You just give them too early. That's why they take a mile. You get me, fellas? All right, so when you give people inches, you got to give them one by one. And you got to spread this shit out, especially with women. Because if you don't, your kindness, which is not a bad thing. I'm a very kind person. Anybody who knows me, I am kind as shit. All right, like a fucking teddy bear. But I have a fuck you up rule, which everybody should. Meaning, if you try me, I fuck you up. Every man should follow this rule and follow this code. All right, this is the only way people will respect you. Like I said, there's a balance between grace and ruthlessness. Sometimes you gotta give people grace. Sometimes people make mistakes. Sometimes somebody may do something that may disrespect you and they're unaware of it. That's okay. Give them grace. Let them know so they don't do it again. But if they keep doing it, that's when you got to click the ruthless switch. All right, fellas? And that's when you got to let them know either you got to move around or you may have to strike fear in them, fellas. It really all depends on the relationship and the dynamic. All right, so I had a guy on Instagram and he's married. And he DM'd me and he said, KD, what if I promise somebody something? I made a promise. I'm not going to get specific in his situation, but he made a promise to somebody. And he told him he was going to do something. But something in his personal life came up. So he was no longer able to, literally no longer able to physically do that thing he promised for that person. And he fears that this person may be disappointed in him and it may wreck the relationship because he can't do what he said he was going to do. Now, let me give you a rule of life. Sometimes you got to take care of your damn self. And some promises are okay to break if they benefit you. All right, G? Simple fact of the matter. See, there's this loyalty myth that a lot of people have. Loyalty is not me telling you I'm going to do something and then something fucking bad happened and now I can't do it and the only way I can do it for you is if I keep fucking up my life. It doesn't work like that. And this is why people take advantage of you. Why? Because you can't say no. Sometimes you may have to explain to them what's going on and why you have to break the promise. And maybe that may mend it. Maybe that may make it okay. Maybe it won't, but who fucking cares? You can't keep wrecking your life and ruining your life and sabotaging your life just to please another person. It doesn't work like that. And when people see you do that, you think they feel bad for you? Hell no, they don't. They don't feel bad. Like I said, they will suck you dry until you're done. And they will move on to the next person. Especially these little critters. All right, fellas? So learn how to say no. If you tell a bitch you gonna buy her something, right? In 3 weeks. And then 2 weeks later, you lose your job. Now it's 1 week till you got to buy her some shit. You need to let her know within 5 minutes she ain't getting it. Simple as that. You don't break your back trying to make sure she get that goddamn bag while your ass still trying to look for a job. Because you have the fear that she may leave or be disappointed or not appreciate or whatever the fuck you think she gonna think. Guys, sometimes you got to take care of yourself. Some promises, a lot of people not going to agree with this. They're going to say, if you make a promise, if you're a man, you have to keep it no matter what. The hell I don't. The hell I don't. If it's about saving your damn life or making sure you don't starve, of course I keep that promise. But if it's some fickle shit like a goddamn bag, the hell I don't. See, this is y'all problem. That is advice that you would get from a woman. A person who makes promises and breaks them based on their emotions. So they don't really understand the severity of promises and how they actually work in the world. You don't break them based on your emotions. I gave you significant examples when it's necessary to break promises. You don't break promises because you don't feel like doing it. That's when you lose respect from people. But I'm saying, if you promise somebody something and something comes up in your life and you know you can't do it, and people know when you can't do shit, and I guarantee you, most people will understand. But the problem is, a lot of you guys put yourself in this situation by being too nice, having a fear of pissing that person off. Maybe you piss them off. It's okay. That's life. Nobody's going to be happy with you all of the time. It's a balance. Now, let me tell you something else you got to do. All right, guys? The world is a cruel place. The world is not horrible. It just can get cruel from time to time. I did some research and I realized that there are not a lot of bad people in the world. There's only a small contingent amount of bad people. If I would put it in numbers, I would say there's only about 7.2% of bad people. The reason why the world is so bad and so corrupt is that these 7.2% of people do a lot of shit and they spread out, all right, and they multiply sometimes. But dealing with people, like I said, dealing with these people, you have to be harsh. Not with all people. Some people, you can be good to them at the beginning and they will appreciate it. I know some great people. Every day I meet great people that when you're nice to them, you're cordial with them, they give you reciprocity and everything is cool. Unless somebody gets out of line, and that's natural. All right, G? But some people, G, you got to treat them like pit bulls. Some people, you got to be harsh with them at the beginning so they act right later. Because if you're too nice at the beginning, if you don't set clear and strict and harsh boundaries at the beginning with some people, I guarantee you they're like sharks and they're looking for people who don't understand this rule. All right, fellas, I got this thing, and I tell you guys all the time, I got this thing about my name. And I got some people who play with me with my name. They'll call me shit like other people's names, like Easy E or some shit like that. And I'll take it for what it is. This is a joke. We laughing and shit. But I can tell in people's eyes when they're a narcissistic person and they want to see and they want to test me to see what they can get away with. I got a keen sense for this shit, all right? I'm getting older. I'm starting to get gray hairs in my fucking chin, all right, G? But when I notice this, some people, I got to check them and I got to look them dead in their face and say, gee, next time you call me out my name, it might be a problem. And it don't even have to be that harsh sometimes. Sometimes it's just like, don't call me out my name. My actual name is Keith, by the way. Nice to meet you. Sometimes I got to do that. Some people I get to play with because I can understand that they won't take that for weakness. All right. And it gets that serious sometimes. So you got to understand street smart. Everybody's not the same. It's case by case. You don't have to be harsh with everybody. Some people you can be completely fucking nice to and they will return the same energy. Some people you be too nice to, guarantee you they will try to find a way to put you under their foot if you let them. So, some people will test you until you scare the shit out of them. All right? And there's another thing I want you guys to get, because some of you guys may have to do this. All right. And you probably got to the point with a group of people in a dynamic where you might have to do this because you're losing respect and everybody's taking advantage of you and everybody's treating you bad and ridiculing you and stuff like that. Check this out. Sometimes you got to use people. All right. Talk about people using you. But sometimes you got to use people for an example. All right, G. Remember I tell you guys all the time, I want you to learn how to fight. And I'm not about to tell you why you need to learn how to fight right now. I'm about to tell you a quick story. So I joined a fight gym here in Houston. And when I joined the gym, there is this guy that I instantly clicked with. And the reason why is because he's from Louisiana too. And when we clicked the first week, he was actually there for about 2 months before I got there. And when we talked the first week, I noticed that there were about 3 or 4 other guys that would pick on him. Now, we grown men, so when grown men picking on other grown men, it's kind of weird. But in a fight gym, it's kind of intimidating for men who aren't that skilled or competent at combat. And he wasn't a bitch, G. He was just a cool dude. He was a nice guy. All right, fella. So I told him, I was like, gee, I'm going to be honest with you. The reason why these guys picking on you is because you never retaliate. So what I want you to do one day, see, every other Friday we used to spar. and we used to spar at about 75%. 100% is like a full-on street fight. So just picture 75% of your full capacity while you sparring. And if some of you guys don't know what sparring is, it's basically a simulation of a fight. So every other Friday we used to spar, and I told him, I was like, gee, next Friday when you spar with old boy, one of them dudes that be talking shit about you, I want you to put him on his ass at 100%. I know we going 75, but I want you to just drop him. Ain't nobody gonna get mad at you because, gee, we in a fight gym. Nobody gonna get mad. They gonna just look at him and be like, bro, why you fell on the ground? He gonna be complaining and shit, but he know you put him on his ass, and that's gonna strike fear in him, and the other one's gonna look at you and be like, damn, all right, I probably won't fuck with him. They might still test you, but it's gonna let them know that you're not a bitch. All right, G. So sometimes you gotta use people for an example. If there's a group of people who can't get right, who always on your ass, and who always treating you bad because you've been exuberating nice guy qualities, you might need to flip the script and change the narrative and the dynamic if you want to stay there. Now, it's not all about putting people on their ass physically. I'm not talking about that. Sometimes it's verbally in the workplace. You might need to call somebody out in front of everybody else. You know, be careful because you don't want to lose your job. It's case by case. Read the room, but you get what I'm saying. At the Thanksgiving dinner, you may have to call Uncle Ray out and let him know, don't fuck with me, and have Grandma Susie look up and be like, okay, everybody calm down, don't fuck with him no more. All right, G. Sometimes it be like that. All right, fellas, so you gotta let people know. If it gets to that point, sometimes it gets to that point. That's why I saved this for later in the video. All right. If you made it to the end, congratulations. Y'all know I saved the game for the end. All right. Now, we talked about fear earlier. All right, G. Something that I don't want you to be afraid of. I don't want you, don't be afraid. I don't want you to be afraid to win. All right. There's something called guilt. And the reason why a lot of guys are not the best versions of themselves is because you've let people guilt you into being just like them. And this is a form of them taking advantage of you. See, people will guilt you and gaslight you to stay normal so you can be like them so they feel comfortable. This is a form of them taking advantage of you. I want you to think about this. They are using you as a tool for comfort so they don't have to get better and they don't have to work on themselves, and you don't have to be a mirror and a reflection of their lack thereof. That is a form of them taking advantage of you. Don't be around people first who don't want you to win. But guys, do not be afraid to win, because this is the fact. You are damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you win, people will judge you. What would they judge you about? How the fuck you won? They gonna say you a scammer. They gonna say you cheated. They gonna say you a fake. They gonna talk shit. They gonna say you suck. They gonna criticize you all the way up to the top. And when you get to the top, they gonna try to bring you down. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And if you lose, they definitely gonna judge your ass. Why? Because people judge you anyway. But not only are they gonna judge you, but they also will despise you. So if you're going to pick an evil out of two, you pick the one that works best for you. You pick the lesser. Out of two evils, always the lesser. The lesser is you win any fucking way. All right, G, if they going to hate you, you might as well let them hate you for winning. Don't let people take it out. Don't let women, don't let friends, don't let family, don't let anybody try to guilt trip you into staying the same and staying with them. All right, G? It's a rule of life that you need to take with you. It's a harsh one, because that would mean you separating yourself from some people or some things. Really all depends. But that's life. It's harsh. It is what it is. As a man, that's a pill you got to swallow. If not, you will not be respected. Because this is the thing. Even if you win and they hate you, at least they going to respect you. They going to judge you, but they can't say you're not a winner. But if you lose, like I said, you ain't shit. And they just going to keep stepping all over you. All right, fellas. So, don't be a nice guy. All right, G? Appreciate you guys for tuning in today. Share this video with a homeboy who this will help out. I got a playlist linked in the description and the comments for some more videos about how to stop being a nice guy and start being a more dangerous and respected man. All right, G? It's your boy KD. We out here, baby.